Hello, listeners. Welcome to Stars of the Golden Age, a show that highlights the lives of legends from film, music, and the birth of television during Hollywood's golden age and the few years surrounding it. I am your host, Erin Carlson. We have a slightly different format for today's episode. I will be discussing two individuals today, Hedda Hopper and Louella Parsons, the two most famous gossip columnists from the golden age of Hollywood. These two women knew it all. Their eyes and ears were everywhere. I'm going to talk a little about each of their lives leading up to their roles as Hollywood's biggest know-it-alls and their subsequent careers. And then I have a little special treat at the end of the episode. I will be rolling out a new feature for Patreon members, and I'm giving you all a sneak peek today. It's called Cocktail Party, and it's going to be so much fun. I'll give you a little taste of it at the end of today's episode. But first, our two nosy Nellies, Hedda Hopper and Louella Parsons. First, we'll talk a bit about Hedda. She was indisputably the most popular gossip columnist in Hollywood for years. Girl was a beast. Hedda Hopper was born Elda Furry in Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania on May 2nd, 1885. I don't know, I kind of like the name Elda, but she had her reasons for changing it that I'll get into very shortly. Her mother's name was Margaret, and her father was David, who was a butcher. So I never know what to do here with the old versus new name as I talk about the childhood period, if I should use their given name or their later stage name. In this case, I'm just going to call little Elda Hedda going forward, just to make it a little easier and less confusing. The family moved from Hollidaysburg to Altoona, Pennsylvania when Hedda was 3 years old, so she spent the remainder of her childhood there. But Hedda was not content with a life in Altoona, Pennsylvania. She wanted to be a star. Hedda ran away from home as a teenager for some New York City-style excitement. She arrived in New York ready to become a chorus girl on the stages of Broadway. But it wasn't as easy as she expected it would be. Flo Ziegfeld, the man of Broadway at the time, called her a, quote, clumsy cow, when she begged and pleaded to be one of his infamous Ziegfeld girls. She finally secured a spot in the touring theater company of actor and theatrical producer DeWolf Hopper. And as you can probably guess from that last name, she goes on to marry Wolfie, as she affectionately called him, a little bit down the road. Hedda was a chorus girl in Wolfie's troupe, but she yearned to be an actress. She worked hard, honing in her acting and singing skills, and she finally secured a lead role in another traveling theater company. And then she got another lead, and another. She worked hard and reached for her dreams of becoming an actress, and she made it happen. No word on why Wolfie didn't cast her in a leading role. No nepotism there, I guess. Hedda and Wolfie tied the knot sometime in 1913 when Hedda was 28 years old. Wolfie was 55 years old, and Hedda was wife number 5 for him. Now, this is just me, but I think 5 is a bit too many wives. Wikipedia was kind enough to share the names of his former wives with us. Get a load of this. So, he just married Elda, and his former wives were named Ella, Ida, Edna, and Nella. And then wife number 5, Elda, which was still Hedda's name at the time. That is a solid set of old-timey names. But you may have noticed that list of names are very similar to each other. And this became an issue for old Wolfie because he accidentally called Hedda, or Elda as she still went by then, by the name of some of his ex-wives, Ella, Ida, or Edna. They were all just too similar. Guess he should have married a Dorothy or Gertrude in that mix. These incidents of her husband calling her by one of his former wives' names was what led Elda to changing her name to Hedda. She paid a numerologist $10 to advise her on what she should change her name to. The numerologist said Hedda, so Hedda it was. Hedda transitioned from the stage to silent films in 1915, and she quickly became a very busy silent film actress. She was known for playing society women. She and Wolfe also welcomed their only child together in 1915, a little boy named William DeWolf Hopper Jr. And fun fact about him, he also became an actor. He later played Private Detective Paul Drake on Perry Mason. By 1920, Hedda Hopper was making $1,000 per week, which would adjust to $16,000 per week today. She was richy rich. Hedda and Wolfe divorced in 1922 after 9 years of marriage. Then he went on to have one more marriage after Hedda, making it a grand total of 6 wives for old Wolfe. In 1923, a newly single Hedda Hopper followed the steady stream of actors and filmmakers to Hollywood and was signed under contract with a pre-MGM Louis B. Mayer. Hedda Hopper ended up having a very busy and pretty successful film career. All in all, she appeared in at least 120 movies in her 23-year acting career. Hedda Hopper's career that she is best known for came about in 1935, when her film career started to fizzle out. You know, aging and all. And this career was writing juicy gossip. She began working as a gossip columnist for the Washington Herald in 1935, and from there she moved on to the Los Angeles Times. Hedda Hopper's Hollywood debuted in the Los Angeles Times on February 14, 1938. One of her very first juicy pieces of print left her with a very important figure not impressed with her. She reported about President Franklin Delano Roosevelt's son James cheating on his wife with a nurse and heading towards divorce. FDR was left not a huge fan of Hedda Hopper. Despite the President of the United States a little irked at her sticking her nose in his family's business, Hedda Hopper climbed the ranks really quickly as the top gossip columnist in Hollywood, breezing by Louella Parsons and waving a quick hello on her way up to the top. She was soon rolling in dough and living the high life in her luxurious mansion in Beverly Hills. She referred to her home as the house that fear built. Hedda Hopper showed up everywhere she possibly could where celebrities were gathered. She watched and listened to every little detail she could about what was going on behind the closed doors of the who's who of Hollywood. She had no problem writing about the most intimate of private information in the lines of her column, and she made very few friends in the process. Most celebrities swore under their breath the second they spotted Hedda Hopper enter a room. And as stated in the Saturday Evening Post, quote, "She showed a special disregard for the blacks, gays, and Democrats," end quote. She could make or break you, and she could share your most private information, like pregnancies or engagements, with the entire nation before you were ready for that information to be shared. She helped people like Joan Crawford at times, and she damaged others like Ingrid Bergman. Revenge always tasted really, really sweet on Hedda Hopper's tongue. Aside from her Nosy Nellie gossip column, Hedda Hopper also did some radio work. She had an acting role in the radio soap Brent House in 1939, and then that same year she launched her own radio show, The Hedda Hopper Show. This was a short 15-minute show that aired 3 times per week for 3 years. After that, she did a few different weekly broadcasts for the next few years. In 1960, Hedda Hopper hit the small screen with a series of television specials called Hedda Hopper's Hollywood. She had guests such as Lucille Ball, Anthony Perkins, James Stewart, Gloria Swanson, Liza Minnelli, Walt Disney, and Marion Davies. Hedda Hopper wrote a consistent column until her death. Her column appeared in numerous newspapers all over the world, and she also wrote for popular celebrity magazines like Photoplay. One more thing that Hedda Hopper was very famous for was her ongoing feud with her #1 competitor, Louella Parsons. Louella Parsons was born Louella Rose Oettinger on August 6, 1881 in Freeport, Illinois. So she's about 4 years older than her nemesis, Hedda Hopper. She had always been a natural writer, and by high school she knew she wanted to be a writer or reporter as a career. Louella graduated from high school in 1901, and she enrolled in Dixon College in Dixon, Illinois. She was taking courses to become a teacher because, well, she was a woman in 1901. But while completing her studies, she got her first part-time job, a writer for the Dixon Star newspaper. Her dream come true. Louella was the very first female columnist in Dixon, Illinois, and she got to dive right into the fun kind of writing, society gossip. Louella married her first husband, John Parsons, in 1905 when she was 24 years old. A year later, they welcomed a little girl named Harriet. The family eventually moved to Burlington, Iowa. Louella and John divorced in 1914 after 9 years of marriage. Louella moved to Chicago, and the following year she married husband number 2, another John McCaffrey Jr. That marriage only lasted about 2 years. Louella Parsons began writing short film scripts in 1912, and little Harriet appeared in several of these films. In 1914, Louella became the very first movie industry gossip columnist when she began writing a gossip column for the Chicago Record-Herald. Media mogul William Randolph Hearst bought the paper 4 years later, and he kicked Louella to the curb. He had no idea how profitable celebrity gossip was, or actually how much he would end up being in it. He thought printing gossip was foolish and a waste of ink. She changed his mind pretty quickly after she moved down to New York City and took a job writing a celebrity gossip column for the New York Morning Telegraph. Because one of the young aspiring starlets that she interviewed was William Randolph Hearst's much younger, longtime mistress, only this was at the beginning, Marion Davies. Louella Parsons sang the praises of Marion Davies in her column, and Hearst was impressed by this. So in 1923, he offered her a new job as motion picture editor of the New York Journal American newspaper. Also in her first few years in New York, Louella Parsons became a founding member of the New York Newspaper Women's Club, and in 1925, she was elected as the club's president. She had worked her butt off to achieve the success she had, but it almost all vanished that same year in 1925 when Louella contracted tuberculosis. Bad news. She was told she would likely die within 6 months. She relocated to Palm Springs, California to recuperate, then somewhere in Arizona, and then LA. Her health improved. She was too tough to be taken down by tuberculosis. And she decided to make LA her new home. Once she was well enough to return to work, William Randolph Hearst offered her the opportunity to be a syndicated Hollywood columnist for his vast library of newspaper publications. Her syndicated Los Angeles Examiner column appeared in over 700 different newspapers and had a readership of over 20 million people. Everyone knew who Louella Parsons was now. She was about 10 years ahead of Hedda Hopper in the syndicated gossip column game. Louella Parsons, like Hedda Hopper in the following decade, was a highly feared personality in Hollywood. She was known to have ears inside of every major film studio, hair salon, doctor's office, and lawyer's office. Nowhere was safe from the nosy informants devoted to Louella Parsons. In 1930, 49-year-old Louella Parsons married her third and final husband, an LA urologist named Harry Martin who specialized in venereal diseases. Fun. Not surprisingly, a lot of Hollywood actors needed some discreet medical assistance to deal with sexually transmitted diseases and other private matters. So Harry Martin was a regular studio physician. It is assumed that he took some of the spicy gossip he learned at the studios and spilled it to his wife for her own career gain. Louella Parsons knew it all, and she would stop at nothing to get a story and to be the first to tell it. She was known as the Queen of Hollywood. That is, until Hedda Hopper hit the scene in 1938. The two had originally known each other when Hedda was an actress, and she would often send juicy gossip Louella's way. When Hedda became a columnist, a rival, at first Louella was welcoming and helpful to her. I mean, there had been countless others who tried, and nobody would ever be able to achieve the success of Louella Parsons, right? Wrong. She quickly realized this Hedda Hopper lady was pretty good. She was ruthless, which for Louella Parsons was really bad. The two entered a career-long feud. Louella Parsons continued to write her column until December of 1965. Her assistant, Dorothy Manners, was highly involved in her writing in the last couple of years, but Louella Parsons was still working until 1965. She was 84 years old, you guys. She didn't have to work, but she wanted to. Reporting people's beeswax was in her blood. Louella Parsons died on December 9, 1972, at the age of 91 years old. Now, I would love to tell you about the new segment I'm rolling out on Patreon. First of all, what is Patreon? Let me explain it to those that don't know. But everyone else, please stick around. Don't dip out quite yet because you don't want to miss the cocktail party. Patreon is a platform used by content creators to connect with their fans. So for a small monthly cost, you can gain access to Patreon-exclusive bonus content. I have 2 tiers of support available through my Stars of the Golden Age Patreon. The Emmy tier is $4 per month, and with that you receive access to the movie of the month and my monthly recap episode about that month's movie. You will also receive a Stars of the Golden Age sticker and a shout out on a regular episode. The second tier available is the Oscar tier, which is $8 per month. In that tier, you receive the movie of the month episode, the sticker, the shout out, plus a full-length bonus episode. Some past bonus episodes have been History of the Hollywood Sign, Black History in Hollywood, History of the Casting Couch, Old Hollywood Studio Rules, and more. This month's bonus episode is all about the highly entertaining Dean Martin Celebrity Roasts. So lots of really fun and entertaining topics that I dive into. Some serious, some not so serious. Now, the new segment. It is called Cocktail Party, and this content will be available to both Emmy and Oscar tier patrons. Let me explain what it will be. First of all, and most fun of all, I will share a vintage cocktail recipe, straight out of the Golden Age. And I will be making these puppies myself too, absolutely. I have acquired photos of actual drink menus from iconic Hollywood restaurants and nightclubs like the Brown Derby and Ciro's, so I know exactly what those stars were sipping on. Before I record, I will make the cocktail that I'll be showcasing that month. I'll detail for you the ingredients, directions, and if possible, I'll share a non-alcoholic mocktail version too. And of course, I will let you know exactly how it tastes. And I can tell you now, it's not always going to be good. Some of the cocktails I found look pretty disgusting, but I'm going to try them anyways. And then, what pairs very well with a nice little cocktail party? Juicy gossip. I personally don't care for gossip, but I do love reading vintage gossip shared by columnists like today's ladies, Hedda Hopper and Louella Parsons. I got my hands on a ton of old photoplay and modern screen magazines, plus archives of some of Hedda and Louella's columns, so I have so many vintage articles to share. It won't all be celebrity gossip, it may just be some fun old-timey articles or movie reviews, but I promise it will be highly entertaining. So, Cocktail Party will be shorter monthly 10-minute mini-episodes available at both the Emmy and Oscar Patreon tiers. You'll get a cocktail recipe and review, and I'll read some old vintage gossip column content or other fun vintage magazine content. I'll share photos of my cocktail and some of the articles on Patreon too. It's going to be lots of fun. Join us on Patreon now to receive all the fun bonus content. Just think about the other stuff that you waste $4 or $8 on each month. Oh, and I should say, when you sign up, you get all of the previously posted content as well, so that's a pretty sweet deal. Not only are you helping to support the show, but you get a lot of fun stuff in return. A win for both of us. Come on over to the Cocktail Party. Cocktail Party episodes will drop on Patreon the second Wednesday of each month. And I'm going to give you a little sampling right now. This is what you can expect from the Patreon exclusive monthly cocktail parties. Welcome to the cocktail party. Come on in, mix a drink, and let me take you back in time with some juicy stories. First, cocktail time. For this first cocktail party, I thought it would be fitting to enjoy the cocktail that Rock Hudson and Elizabeth Taylor claimed to invent while shooting on location in Texas for Giant, as I just mentioned in my Rock Hudson episode this month. The chocolate martini. Here's what you need. It's pretty easy. Vodka, chocolate liqueur, such as Bailey's chocolate, and chocolate syrup, like good old Hershey syrup. I had a white chocolate Irish cream on hand, so that's what I'm using. And as far as the vodka, we are huge fans of the Members Mark vodka and tequila from Sam's Club in our house. Seriously, you guys, we've done blind testings for people, and you seriously cannot taste the difference between Tito's vodka and the Members Mark vodka, or Patron and the Members Mark tequila. Guys, I'm a tequila girl, and I love this stuff, and it is incredibly affordable. They're not sponsoring me, I promise. You will also need a cocktail shaker, a martini glass, and ice. Here is something really embarrassing though. I cannot find my big, beautiful martini glasses anywhere. I looked in all of our drinkware cabinets, I looked in our bar, I looked everywhere. I'm afraid they accidentally went with the last useless drinkware thrift shop purge. Although I do not find them useless, not at all. I even remember having a conversation with my husband about them actually, when we were putting together things to bring to Goodwill. I didn't drink alcohol for almost a year, and when we were going through some kitchen stuff for Goodwill, he commented on how we could probably get rid of the martini and margarita glasses now, and the 16 champagne flutes I own. I made a big stink about how just because I didn't drink alcohol, I still deserve to drink beverages out of fancied glasses. So the martini glasses are a mystery. I know I would not get rid of them. Not on purpose, at least. All of the other types of drinkware are safe and sound. So, as my new martini glasses make their way from the Target distribution center, today I am using a glass Irish coffee mug. What's in the glass is what matters most, right? Now, I like to get a little sassy sometimes, and I'm addicted to caffeine, so I'm adding a little bit of instant coffee into my chocolate martini. I use the Starbucks instant coffee because it's so rich and delicious, and it's really fine and easily dissolved. Fun travel hack, instant coffee is my #1 travel item. I have to bring it everywhere. Good instant coffee. Because I need coffee the second I get up in the morning, and I'd rather have Starbucks than the crap that they have in those hotel pods. Okay, back to our cocktail. here's what you do to put it all together. Pretty easy. You're just going to put equal parts chocolate liqueur and vodka in your cocktail shaker. I did 2 ounces of each since I have this giant mug to fill. Since I'm using white chocolate liqueur, I added a little squirt of Hershey's syrup, because why not? Then, if you want to turn this into a mocha chocolate martini like I did, add in about a half a teaspoon of good instant coffee. Then, put a few cubes of ice into your shaker with your cocktail ingredients, cover that thing up nice and tight, and shake away. Before you strain it into your martini glass, or Irish coffee mug in my case, take your Hershey's syrup and drizzle it nice and pretty down the sides of your glass. Pour in your chilled martini, thank Rock Hudson and Elizabeth Taylor, and sip away. For an NA version of this cocktail, Bobby Flay's recipe is 1 cup of cold milk, a 1/4 cup of chocolate syrup, and 1 tablespoon of corn syrup. And some of that instant coffee if you desire. Shake that stuff up and pour into 2 prepared martini glasses. Voila! So I have this thing sitting in front of me right now. And how do I love this mocha chocolate martini? I love it. I love chocolate and I love coffee, and well, I don't hate vodka, so this thing was going to have a really hard time disappointing me. I could drink this bad boy for breakfast every day, but since I'm a preschool teacher, I'll try not to do that. It would be a fantastic after-dinner drink, though. Now, while I'm sipping away on this delicious mocha chocolate martini, let me tell you about the gossip I have to share with you today. I thought for this first cocktail party that's included at the end of the Hedda Hopper and Louella Parsons episode, it would be fitting to share some of Hedda and Louella's column content. And also, circling back to Rock Hudson again, I'm going to share a little bit from that photoplay article that I referenced in his episode. First, Louella Parsons. I'm going to read a little from Louella's column from December 22nd, 1937. It is titled, Elite of Films Enjoy Disney's Snow White. She begins, quote, a well-loved and popular fairy tale came to life last night at a Gala Carthay Circle premiere. Inside the theater, a delighted audience composed of the elite of filmland reveled in Walt Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. While outside, the sidewalk crowds found almost as much enjoyment in seeing Grimm's fantastic dwarfs parade up and down in an enchanted forest built in the foreground. Small and familiar figures wore grotesque masks of Disney film characters, end quote. Parsons goes on to compliment Walt Disney and his team for this outstanding first animated feature film, and then writes, quote, for the first time in the history of motion pictures, a premiere was held at which no players could be introduced. But believe me when I say you don't mind the absence of any great star, for Snow White and her fairy prince and the Seven Dwarfs become stars you will love and take into your heart. Among movie luminaries present were Shirley Temple, Bob Burns, Joe Penner, Freddie Bartholomew, Amos and Andy. Kind of sad they're grouped together like that, isn't it? Like they're not individual people. George Burns and Gracie Allen, Mr. and Mrs. Jack Benny, Marlene Dietrich and Douglas Fairbanks Jr., Fred McMurray, George Arliss, Hal Roach, Claudette Colbert, James Gleason, Paulette Goddard, Marion Nixon, Ernst Lubitsch, and Jesse Lasky, end quote. Now I'm going to read a snippet from Hedda Hopper from 1 year later, December 27th, 1938, which also includes some dish about a beloved classic movie. And offensiveness. This is kind of funny at how offensive this is. Hedda Hopper writes, quote, on the Wizard of Oz set, they've added 50 school children to the 150 midgets, being sure the kids were the same size. Makes it mighty difficult for Miss McDonald and her staff of school teachers, because the minute a scene is finished, they grab the kids for their lessons, and 9 times out of 10, what they find on their laps is a midget, end quote. Another little snippet from Hedda Hopper about Mr. Clark Gable. She wrote, quote, had a red letter day at Metro, lunched with the king of the lot, Clark Gable. Not alone, unfortunately, so I couldn't ask him the $64 question. Is he going to get married? I thought it might embarrass him. Don't think anyone has the foggiest idea how beloved that guy is on his own lot. Big, hulking men came, put their arms around him, and then passed on. His hair's a little grayer at the temples. The moths got into the sleeve of one of his best tweed jackets. He ate sliced tomatoes and drank black coffee, end quote. I'm sorry, but I would be eating way more than boring sliced tomatoes and black coffee if I was a huge star in the MGM commissary. Gotta keep those perfect physiques, though, I guess. This column didn't have a date, but I'm guessing it was written a few years after his wife Carol Lombard died and before he remarried, so somewhere between 1942 and 1949, probably closer to 1949. And one more thing I want to sprinkle in here, a little piece from that article written about Rock Hudson and his roommate, Bob Preble. Actually, it was written by Bob Preble. The 1952 Photoplay magazine article details their cohabitating living situation as a fun bachelor life opposed to a romantic living situation, which it may or may not have been. I should note they resided in a one-bedroom bungalow, at least for part of the time they were roommates. The article is titled Bachelor's Bedlam, and here's a little of what Bob wrote. Quote, Rock leaves his bath towel over the top of the door or flung into the tub, or sometimes on the floor in a pattern of studied confusion. Whenever I trip over one, I make a suggestion between gritted teeth that he try hanging it on the towel rack. Whereupon he reminds me that I don't even leave my towel in the bathroom. I drag it to my bedroom and leave it to soak the bedspread. End quote. Later he says, quote, It's been a welcome surprise that Hollywood actors like the simple things in life. At least Rock does. If it happens that neither of us has a date for an evening, a rare occurrence, we hop in his Oldsmobile or my Ford and go bowling or play pool, or even spend an hour in the penny arcade, end quote. He goes on to say how Rock had a really hard time waking up to an alarm, so he was forced to use a calling service to wake him up. So he began hating the telephone ringing, which I learned in my research that he liked talking on the phone, so who knows, maybe it changed for him down the road. Bob writes, quote, As a matter of fact, he gets angry when his girlfriends call, at least if he's asleep at the time. On the other hand, part of his reaction is due to the fact that he dislikes possessiveness in women. And usually when a girl calls, she wants to know what you're doing and why, or where you're going, or where you've been. Rock likes his freedom, and when he gets married someday, he'll be surprised to find that Mrs. Hudson wants to know where he's been and where he's going. It's a feminine type of attack against which at least two males put up a roaring defense, end quote. He goes on to brag about all the beautiful women they have both dated, and then the final part of it I'll read is this. Quote, Rock's good nature is his first attraction for people, I think. They conclude that he's a big, overgrown kid who doesn't require much probing. I know better. Actually, he's a pretty complex guy, but he doesn't let people know unless they're close to him. He is moody at times, usually when he's depressed about his work, and he has a temper that simmers for weeks, then comes to a boil and finally explodes. But it's over in a hurry. He picks up something, anything, and throws it. And a minute later, he's putting a record on the phonograph. End quote. Rock and Bob lived together for a few years, and after learning about how much Rock Hudson valued his privacy, I'm sure this article was a really, really difficult thing for him to agree to. It is highly speculated that it was a big publicity move to prove his heterosexuality, or to hide his homosexuality, I should say. Well, my cocktail glass has been empty for a little bit, so it's time to sign off until next time. Cheers, everyone! Did you enjoy this little sampling of Cocktail Party? If you want more, you know where to find it. Patreon.com/Stars of the Golden Age podcast. It is available at both the Emmy and Oscar tiers. I do have a couple of bullet points to cap off the stories of Hedda Hopper and Louella Parsons before I go. Bullet point number 1. Hedda Hopper was known for her extravagant hats. The IRS allegedly allowed a $5,000 tax deduction each year for this business expense. Bullet point number 2. Louella Parsons learned how to juggle so she could entertain her own wedding guests at her second wedding. That seems like an odd thing to do. Bullet point number 3. Louella Parsons' only child, daughter Harriet Parsons, grew up to be a film producer. She first worked as a writer at MGM, then a columnist for Photoplay and Hearst Publications, and then she became a film producer with Columbia Pictures and RKO. This was smack dab in the middle of Hollywood's golden age, so female film producers were not common at all. She continued to write a regular column, just like her mama, for the rest of her adult life. In conclusion, Hedda Hopper and Louella Parsons were way more outgoing than me, but I respect their drive and ambition so much. I'm not afraid of hard work, but I am afraid of confrontations and having people be mad at me, so a gossip columnist was definitely never a career aspiration for me. Both of these women worked their way to the top of their field in a time when it was extremely difficult for women to achieve such success. And because of them, we have a very candid insight into life during the golden age of Hollywood. And I cannot wait to share some of that insight with you as we embark into the monthly cocktail parties. Thank you, Hedda Hopper and Louella Parsons, for preserving history for us. And thank you all for listening. For this episode, I used an article from the Saturday Evening Post titled, "The Career That Fear Built. Hedda Hopper Ruled the Gossip Business." CartoonResearch.com, the Once Upon a Screen classic film blog at aurorasginjoint.com, Wikipedia, FoodNetwork.com, and IMDB.